Hey there, old school gamers. Welcome to Grumpy Old GMs, where we're going to offer you another Rolodex entry in our NPC Rolodex. Entry number 6. Feel free to take the NPC as is, or tweak him, or change him, make him a her, whatever you want to do for your campaign. Or just use it as an example to inspire one of your NPCs. We want to supply you with what you need here to bring out your inner GM and shine for your players. All right, so I was inspired to bring up this particular NPC out of my Rolodex from the past. Yesterday, I saw all over the gamer YouTube atmosphere that Pathfinder is getting into Tian Sha this year, which is their Asian flavored part of their fantasy world. And so I was thinking about doing an NPC Rolodex entry anyway, and I thought this would be a good time for this one. So today's NPC is Lin Fa, the 0 level NPC player butt kicking noodle chef. So he comes from the 1990s when I was in college, and about 3 different things converged for his creation as an NPC. So here's what was going on. Basically, the first thing that was going on was, I mentioned this before in another video, but when first edition D&D changed into second edition D&D, we thought that there was a lot of bloat and power creep then. Boy, howdy. We from first to second edition, if we had only known, what would happen these days in 2023 with 5th edition and moving on into 6th edition or 5.5 or whatever this one D&D thing is going to be that WotC has planned for it next year. I say it instead of us because not all of us are following that path. So what they had planned for it, for their D&D brand. But so there, in particular, there was a second edition book called the Tome of Magic that had come out. And it had just all sorts of broken, crazy spells in it. Last night, there were people at the Thursday table that were talking about silvery barbs again, as it's a very, broken spell that came out last year in Strixhaven. And, according to what I see on the internet and the D&D community, there are DMs that just banned it immediately. But us players, we thought already, just from first edition to second edition, particularly when that Tome of Magic book came out, that it was just off the wall. And so there were players that were using that book, and they were just owning and stomping with completely bloated, broken stuff. And of course, I would throw it right back at them. I would have enemy NPC casters and liches and vampires who were mages, and it got to be antagonistic. There were several weeks in a row where there were just harsh feelings, and it got to be the DM versus the players in an unhealthy way. Now, there's always an element in D&D of the DM versus the players, but that's because the DM's there to challenge them and represent a world, and not everything in the world cares about them, just like not everything in the real world cares about you. So there's a certain element of antagonism, but this was getting to be unhealthy. This was going over the top. This was getting to be unhealthy and toxic. And I was talking to my mentor, Ron Watson, and I was, he says, John, it's not about power. You can challenge your players with a 0 level NPC, and he challenged me to do so. He used to do that. He was kind of like an old martial arts guru from a movie or something. He would give me challenges and tell me to do something in my campaign and report back to him, and I would. And he was like tutelaging me, teaching me, tutoring me. And it was just really cool. And I really need to reach out to him one of these days here, see where he is, what he's doing in life. But so now I'm teaching his stuff and getting paid to do so. But he said, I want you to challenge them with a 0 level NPC and just prove to yourself that you can challenge player characters no matter how powerful, because it's not about power. And so that was cooking in my mind. And then there was also another thing cooking in my mind that led to the creation of Lin Fa, the butt-kicking noodle chef. I had a player who was just burning to play a character from Kara-Tur, the Asian-flavored part of Forgotten Realms. And he just really wanted to play a ninja, just so bad. And I knew that nobody else was really interested in Karatur Asian flavored Forgotten Realms. And so I was going to have to come up with a reason for him to be in the West. So he literally got off the boat in Waterdeep, because I was running Forgotten Realms at the time, and I cooked up this story for him to explain why he would be running in Faerun on the Sword Coast, in a more Eurocentric type fantasy, as opposed to when he came from across the ocean from a more Asian flavored fantasy. And I took a story that my uncle told me in real life about real life San Francisco in real life Chinatown in the real life 1940s. So my uncle, who lives in San Francisco, we went to Chinatown, ate dim sum all afternoon and stuff like that, and he was telling me about Chinatown. And he said that in the 1940s in Chinatown, there was a young man who stole a noodle recipe from an older man. And the younger man did not quite have the same sense of honor as the older man. He'd been born in America. He was more Americanized. And the older man asked for the noodle recipe back with an apology. And the younger guy gave it back. He apologized, but he'd copied the recipe. And he started making noodles with this stolen recipe. And according to my uncle, in the 1940s in San Francisco and Chinatown, there were actually gangs and people killing each other in back alleys with knives and guns over noodles. So I took this inspiration of something that happened in real life, and I decided to try to explain why a first-level ninja would have traveled from Karatur to Waterdeep, would have crossed the ocean. I decided that Lin Fa, the noodle chef, had stolen this famous noodle recipe, and that the ninja clan had been employed to kill him. But of course, this was a noodle chef, and it's clear across the ocean. It's like on the other side of the planet, over in like the Euro part of the planet. And so I decided that the ninja clan, in order to honor the contract, they got to honor the contract, right? Got to please the customer, that they would send this little first level nobody that they prove himself, and that was the player character. So that explained why this first level ninja player character went over to Waterdeep and wound up joining our adventuring party, because it was part of his backstory and part of his ongoing plot line to eventually catch Lin Fa. Now this video is already going on 8 minutes, so I'm thinking about dividing this into part 1 and part 2. So tomorrow we might actually describe how the hunt for Lin Fa went, and exactly how a 0-level character, NPC character, a 0-level humble little noodle chef. Okay, maybe he wasn't so humble, but I did give him an 18 charisma, because Ron didn't say I couldn't play with his stats. He just said I couldn't give him any levels. So he was a 0-level noodle chef with an 18 charisma. He was very charming, and he kicked the party's butt for years. He was an ongoing recurring villain, and I will explain how that worked in part 2 of the video tomorrow. So in the meantime, if you like our content and you want more, we can give you personalized instruction where I, or one of the grumpy old GMs that works with me, will call you on Discord or on the phone and coach you with your specific questions instead of just teaching general things here on the internet. And if you want to game with us, there is a link to grumpyoldgms.com below where you can look at our gaming schedule, find links to our tables that are open. Our Tuesday table's full, but I think most nights have at least one seat open at the present time as I record this. And of course, there's our Discord down below to hang out with us. And we have a wonderful community of folks. Several of them don't even play at any of our tables. They're just cool to hang out with us. And they come by our tables and watch and hang out with us while we play, even though they don't have a character. That is, audiencing is a thing as well. One gentleman actually told me that our show sounds similar to something like Critical Role or something, and he just puts it on like we are a show and just listens to it in the background as he goes to sleep. So I thought that was very flattering. So, but yeah, so in the meantime, I will see you around the gaming table.